Good morning, dear friend. Let's take a moment before we begin. Imagine you're sitting on your porch or by the window if it's too warm outside. Maybe there's a cup of something warm in your hand, maybe birdsong in the air. The garden is quiet but alive. A few bees wander past the basil and the sunlight is kind today, like it's visiting you on purpose. The breeze is gentle, rustling the leaves in that familiar way, like fingers brushing through hair. Out here, it doesn't matter what's in your wallet or what decade you were born in. You don't need youth to grow something beautiful. You don't need money to make your little corner feel like a sanctuary. What you need is far simpler and deeper. You need imagination and care, and maybe a few old things you already have tucked away in the shed or gathering dust under the sink. Today, I want to share some of my favorite lazy garden hacks, not the kind that make you rush or strain, but the kind that make you smile. These ideas are gentle, repurposed, and deeply doable whether your knees are still strong or your back likes a little more kindness these days. Some come from old teacups, others from boots with too many memories to throw away. Each one is a reminder. Just because something or someone is no longer new doesn't mean it's lost its purpose. So take another sip and let's wander into the garden of ideas. Slowly, peacefully. You and me. Remember that old teacup set you used to bring out for special guests? Or maybe for quiet afternoons alone with just a crossword and some chamomile. Maybe a few have chipped over the years. Maybe the saucers don't all match anymore. But what if I told you they could still host guests? Just the feathered kind. Creating a teacup bird bath is as gentle as a whisper and just as lovely. All you need is a teacup and saucer, a bit of strong glue or epoxy, and a place to perch it. Start by attaching the bottom of the cup to the center of the saucer. Once it's dried fully, you can set it out in your garden on a small table railing or even a tree stump. Fill it with a bit of fresh water and wait. It won't be long before the sparrows or finches stop by for a sip or a splash. If you'd like to elevate it, place the cup and saucer on top of an overturned flower pot or glue it to an old candlestick holder for a touch of cottage charm. No digging, no hauling, just your hands and a little time. And here's the lovely part: the birds won't mind the chips. The garden won't notice the faded gold trim, but you'll feel the sweetness of something simple being useful again. Like you've welcomed old china into a new chapter and invited the birds to tea. Because beauty doesn't shout. Sometimes it sings on wings. Maybe you still have them tucked by the back door, those rubber rain boots with cracked soles and faded colors. Maybe they belong to your grandson who once jumped into every puddle he could find, giggling like it was his job. Or maybe they were yours from your gardening days when the soil didn't seem quite so far down. Well, it turns out those boots still have one more season in them. Rain boot flower pots are delightfully simple and full of character. Because they stand upright on their own, they're perfect for placing on porches, steps, or small patios. No bending, no digging, no heavy lifting. Start by checking the bottom of the boots. If they're already cracked, you've got instant drainage. If not, poke a few small holes using a screwdriver or even a hot nail. Just a few enough to let the water trickle out. Then fill them up with potting soil about 2/3 of the way. Add something cheerful, perhaps some marigolds, pansies, or trailing petunias. These upright planters are especially lovely when you group 2 or 3 of them together like old friends standing in a row still full of color. You can even tie a ribbon around the ankle or write a little message on a garden tag and tuck it inside. That way, your rain boots aren't just holding flowers, they're holding stories. And isn't that what we all hope for? That something we once used and loved might still stand tall in someone's garden, full of new life. Even old boots deserve to bloom. Remember that old metal colander you used for draining spaghetti, the one that rattled in the cabinet and caught your eye every time you reached for the saucepan? Maybe it's dented now. Maybe the handle's loose. But before you send it off to the donation pile, consider this: it already has perfect drainage. Colanders make beautiful breezy hanging baskets. And they're especially kind to backs and knees. No bending, no ground prep, just a gentle lift and hang. To begin, line the inside with a bit of natural fiber moss burlap. Even a piece of an old dish towel will do. This helps hold the soil in place while still allowing water to flow freely. Fill it about 3/4 of the way with potting soil, then tuck in your favorite trailing plants. Think ivy lobelia or nasturtiums. You can even mix in a few herbs like thyme or oregano for fragrance. Next, attach 3 lengths of twine ribbon or light chain to the colander's handles or outer rim. Gather the ends and tie them together in a loop for hanging. A sturdy shepherd's hook, a tree limb, or even a porch beam will do the trick. When it's finished, you'll have a bit of garden poetry swaying gently in the breeze. It'll catch the morning dew and sparkle in the sun like a quiet little chandelier of green. And every time you look at it, you'll know even something punched full of holes can still hold beauty. Sometimes it's the gaps that let the light through. Do you remember the old wooden step stool that once helped you reach the highest shelf in the pantry? The one with paint-splotched legs, or a little wobble that made it more charming than useful? Well, it might not lift you up anymore, but it can still lift a garden. A step stool makes a lovely tiered herb display, perfect for porches, patios, or sunny spots just outside the kitchen door. And best of all, everything stays at arm's height, no bending, no kneeling, just a stroll outside and a snip of rosemary or mint. Start by cleaning the stool and giving it a fresh coat of paint if you like something soft like sage green or warm cream. Then, on each step, place a small pot or container. Terracotta pots are classic, but anything you have on hand works. Tin cans, old mugs, even chipped bowls. Just be sure they have drainage holes. Fill each container with potting mix and plant herbs that suit your senses: basil, parsley, chives, or even lavender. Place the taller plants on the top step and trailing ones like thyme or oregano on the lower rungs to cascade over the edge. If you'd like, label each pot with a hand-painted tag or a popsicle stick marked with a permanent pen. That little touch of care makes the whole arrangement feel more like a tiny outdoor apothecary, a quiet place of growth and scent. This isn't just a stool anymore. It's a song of usefulness sung softly in thyme and basil. It reminds us even when we can't reach as high as we once did, we can still bring something nourishing closer to us. Chairs have a way of sticking around long after their prime. Maybe the seat's fallen through or one leg's grown wobbly. Maybe it came from your mother's kitchen or once sat in a little breakfast nook where stories and pancakes were shared. Even when they're no longer fit for sitting, old chairs still have something graceful to offer. A broken chair, especially one with an open or missing seat, makes a perfect plant stand. And it requires no tools, no heavy lifting, and absolutely no rush. Start by removing any remaining loose pieces from the center of the seat. What you'll have is a lovely wooden frame just waiting to cradle something green. Place a round flower pot, a metal bucket, or even a wicker basket right into the opening. If it needs support, a bit of floral wire or an old dish towel folded into the frame will help hold it steady. Fill your chosen container with potting mix, then add your favorite blooms. Geraniums look especially lovely in these throne-like stands, but even a cluster of leafy ferns can create a gentle shaded effect. If you have paint handy, consider giving the chair a soft pastel hue or leave the weathered finish as is for a rustic cottage garden charm. Position the chair on the porch by your front steps or tucked under a tree as a little surprise for wandering eyes. And just like that, what was broken becomes a pedestal. Something that once supported you now supports life. Because we all outgrow our old roles. And sometimes in a new season we get to hold beauty in ways we never expected. Do you still have that old dresser drawer, the one from the guest room, or a hand-me-down from decades ago? Even if the knobs are mismatched or the paint is chipped, that shallow wooden box holds a quiet charm. And in just a few minutes, it can hold something even more delightful: a tabletop garden. A drawer planter is one of the simplest ways to grow herbs, flowers, or even a few salad greens right at table or railing height. It's perfect for porches, small balconies, or anywhere you'd like to add life without leaning down. Begin by checking that your drawer has a sturdy bottom. If not, reinforce it with a bit of wood or a baking tray. Then drill a few drainage holes, or if that's not possible, line the bottom with small stones or pebbles to help prevent soggy roots. Next, fill the drawer about 3/4 full with potting soil. You can plant a mix of succulents, marigolds, lettuce, or creeping flowers like alyssum that spill over the edges. If you're feeling whimsical, tuck in a garden gnome or a vintage spoon with a quote etched on it. Place the drawer on an outdoor table, an old bench, or even a milk crate turned sideways. It becomes an instant centerpiece, portable, elevated, and oh so easy to tend. There's something especially tender about growing beauty in what used to store socks or linens. It reminds us that things and people can always begin again in a new role. That even when life changes shape, the frame can still hold wonder. Because the past doesn't have to be packed away. Sometimes it just needs sunlight. Maybe it's hanging in your closet right now. One of those soft fabric shoe organizers with pockets that once held sandals, slippers, and a stray glove or two. If it's a little stained or sagging, all the better. Because today it's going to become a vertical garden, one that doesn't require an inch of bending. This idea is especially lovely for those with limited yard space or mobility. All you need is a cloth shoe organizer, a few handfuls of potting soil, and your choice of plants. Herbs like parsley, cilantro, and mint do wonderfully. So do leafy lettuces, strawberries, or hardy flowers like violas and marigolds. Start by hanging the organizer on a sunny wall fence or balcony rail. Make sure it's sturdy; those pockets will get heavier once filled. Line each pocket with a coffee filter or a piece of landscape fabric to help hold in the soil. Then fill each one halfway with potting mix, tuck in your plant or seeds, and water gently. The result is a cascading wall of life green, fresh, and easy to reach. No weeding, no digging, no hauling. It's a bit like turning a page in a book and realizing there's a whole story waiting behind what once looked like clutter. That tired old organizer becomes a tapestry of growth, and your garden stretches upward like a quilt made of leaves. And perhaps like this little project, we too can bloom in unexpected directions. Not by doing more, but by doing differently. Because beauty doesn't always grow in the ground. Sometimes it hangs in the sunlight. There's something special about a jar, how it holds light memory, or maybe the last of summer's jam. If you've got a few mason jars gathering dust in a cabinet, or tucked in a box in the garage, now's the time to bring them back to life this time, as gentle garden lanterns. These glowing little companions require no wires, no tools, and no electricity, just sunlight and a bit of care. To begin, find a few clean jars. Any size will do, though wide-mouth mason jars work best. Then pick up a few small solar lights, the kind with detachable tops. Simply remove the stake portion and place the light top inside the lid ring or nestled on top of the jar opening. If it doesn't fit snugly, a bit of glue or twine will do the trick. You can leave the jars plain for a minimalist charm, or decorate them with lace-pressed flowers or glass paint if you'd like a pop of color. Then set them out along your garden path, windowsill, porch rail, or hang them with wire from a shepherd's hook. During the day, they soak in the sun, and as evening arrives, they begin to glow softly, warmly, like little reminders that even in darkness, beauty shines on. It's a simple kind of magic. No fire, no fuss. Just quiet light held in glass, born from things you already had. And isn't that how many of our best moments begin? Not with a grand plan, but with the simple act of holding on to light. Composting might sound like a big chore, but it doesn't have to be. In fact, with just an old plastic laundry basket, you can turn kitchen scraps into rich garden soil without any heavy bins turning tools or digging in the yard. If you've got a laundry basket that's seen better days, maybe cracked handles or faded from sun, it's perfect for this project. The built-in holes provide natural airflow, which is just what compost needs to break down gently over time. To begin, choose a shady spot on your patio or near your garden somewhere it won't be in direct sun all day. Line the inside of the basket with newspaper cardboard or a bit of old burlap to help keep everything contained. Then start adding a mix of kitchen scraps like vegetable peels, coffee grounds, and eggshells. Layer these with dry items, shredded paper leaves, or straw to help balance the moisture. There's no need to turn it often, just give it a little shake every week or so. In a few weeks or months, depending on the season, you'll notice it beginning to transform into dark, crumbly compost, perfect for pots, flower beds, or even houseplants. This lightweight system is easy to lift, easy to manage, and most of all, easy to love. It's a gentle way to give back to the earth using what we once thought was waste. Because nothing in nature is ever truly lost. Even yesterday's peels can become tomorrow's bloom. And in that small, quiet cycle, we're reminded our lives too can turn leftovers into nourishment. And now, dear friend, we've reached the quiet end of our garden stroll. Perhaps you're still sitting with your tea. Or maybe the light outside has shifted, casting golden shadows through the trees. Whatever time it is where you are, I hope this little journey has left you feeling lighter. Not because the tasks were easy, but because they were kind. Kind to your body, kind to your budget, and kind to your spirit. You see, the world often tells us that usefulness fades with age. But the garden teaches something else. It shows us that even brittle stems can flower again, that seeds can wait years before blooming, and that the soil remembers every season. Nothing is wasted. Not old chairs, not chipped cups, not quiet hands that once did so much. Your hands still create beauty. Whether they plant paint or simply arrange a few blossoms in a jar, they still hold magic. And your heart still holds stories worth growing. So, which idea brought you joy today? Was it the drawer full of succulents, the rain boot blooming with marigolds, or the soft light of mason jar lanterns glowing at dusk? If something here made you smile or sparked a memory, subscribe and stay a while. There will always be more gentle inspiration waiting for you here. Until next time, may your days be peaceful, your garden forgiving, and your imagination always in bloom. Happy gardening, dear friend.